good morning, everyone. I'll say morning because I think most people are west of me. So happy Sunday. Hopefully everybody's doing good. Boy, it's been busy around here. I just came back in from the bees. It's a little bit rainy, sprinkly, but I had to go back through the nukes that I made to make sure that that they were in fact queenless, right? No cells. And got Brad from the wood shop. Let me bring him in. Hey, good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
How are you doing today?
Good. You can hear me okay?
Oh yeah, fine.
Good.
Your mic works well.
Good.
So what are we working on today, man? I thought you were done with all that pallet stuff.
Yeah. Well, pallets. That's what I'm working on. Oddly enough. So and I was just making a video about this because it's something a little different. I'll explain it to you. I've recently, a light bulb has come on that I need some kind of a thing to store my honey supers on, when they're empty in the sea can and whatnot. I run 200 to 300 honey supers. They're all deeps, and to get them in the sea can nicely, I've just been carrying them in one at a time and stacking them up. I can get them 10 high in there, which is quite a stretch, but I can do it. So that helps me store that many supers. But I'm getting old, and I'm tired of carrying boxes in there and carrying them out every season. So I decided I need a pallet to store those on. And my little tractor, of course, it's really handy, but it doesn't lift unlimited weight. I can lift about 20 of those pretty easily. 20 of those, so it's just drawn comb, extracted honey super kind of a thing. So what that is it's a cube of 4, 5 high is what I'm going after. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to build a pallet for that. So basically, it's a two-way pallet with another two-way pallet behind it, is what I'm going to do. I've got a little bit of leftover plywood here I can use that I didn't want to use for customer stuff. And when I talked to my dipper, my question was, how am I going to have to paint these or what am I going to do? And when I was at the dipper this past week, I asked him, he said, yeah, you can dip a pallet that big. So that's really good. So if I only need 10 or 15 of these. So if I can get 10 or 15 made, I'll take them with me when I go next, which should be a couple of weeks, and get the dip. So that's what I'm doing.
And that'll make it easy for you to store them. And I don't know. Well, I mean, after being in your honey house, I didn't notice any stored equipment in there really, just honey and bees.
Yeah.
During the winter time.
I don't really store anything in there. I keep the honey in there just to, keep it fairly secure and clean and whatnot. I showed you in the sea can though, and you saw the wall of honey supers in there.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, I went out today. Of course, did another check for rogue cells. And you remember that queen that I said that was marked red?
Yeah.
I didn't chance it. I took her on a frame and put her in a zombie nuke by herself with an extra frame, right? So I just took her out entirely out of the equation when I found her. And believe it or not, I equalized those nukes between the nukes, right? So if one had excess brood and one was looking light, I just went through and just kind of daisy chained them down. And at the end, I went to another zombie that I had and just took a frame from her and put it in there, right? So just kind of making sure all of the nukes that are ready for queens are ready for queens. And so I was doing that outside today, and I was like, well, I could do a video on this, but it's just nasty and rainy, and I wanted to get it done.
That way here, it was really stormy yesterday, and the place is a lake again. It's a nice day right now, but I can't hardly walk around out there for the mud. I certainly can't take the tractor anywhere. I have that one nuke that I need to move yet, and I think today is going to be my best day looking at the forecast. I get my queens, my next round of queens I get on Thursday. So I want to get that nuke moved over, obviously prior to that. And I was just kind of talking. I was making my vlog video and talking about how, I made that split in a different way because I had 8 colonies to split, and I found 7 queens. So if I find a queen in the colony, then I just make a split,
Right.
protect the queen, and I just make the split. Now, those colonies, I need to check them for rogue cells, though, right? So you could, because you make something queenless immediately, then the bees panic and start making emergency cells, which is what they do. So you need to get rid of those before you put your
I came up with a just right on the spot. So what if you only ordered half of the queens you needed for splits? You made your splits, right? And this is, follow me here. I know you're going to say that's stupid, but
I know
just
what you're going to say.
follow me here. So you make the splits, make them a little bit stronger than you need, right? Then when you go back, you'll have one frame that's got like 10 queen cells on it.
Yeah.
Why not then take that one frame with the queen cells and make a single frame split, like a walk away, and that way you're
You can do
increasing
that. They talk about different ways to make queen cells, and walkaway splits are never talked about really favorably. However, I know beekeepers who do them, and they have good success with them. So I'm not going to poo-poo them either way. My comment on that is going to be not necessarily what kind of split you make, whether it's a walkaway or an OTS or grafting or however. It all comes down to the conditions, and Michael Palmer preaches this: the conditions when that queen cell is being created by the bees. So
right.
my comment on that is, if you make a split, now you've got, I guess the harsh term would be, an inferior colony that's going to be building cells. Not ideal, right? What you want,
Well, when I made
a
my
very
split, I
strong
also made
colony
sure they
building cells. If you're going to build cells, the colony needs to be very strong, and it has to have pollen and nectar and all of the goodies to build
well,
those
let's
cells.
identify what a strong colony is.
Yeah.
Is it a strong colony or is it a dense colony? You can have a weak colony that's got a crap ton of bees in a small space,
It has to
and
be
they'll want to
healthy.
swarm.
It has to be healthy.
Well, assuming you're making splits off of healthy colonies as well.
Yeah, but sometimes it needs to be stated, right? So it has to be healthy, and also a strong colony or a dense colony. If the colony is dense, and this is one of the principles of the OTS model, is you want your colony to be dense because you want it to be getting in the mood to swarm. Now, that's not really necessary for building emergency cells. That's just another mechanism to make them want to get to business and build cells.
Right.
OTS uses both of those, emergency and swarm impulse, to build superior cells. But you also need all the resources and lots of bees. Making a split, you're compromising those things.
So what I typically have done in the past is, if I had 25 queens coming, I'd make 21, 22 nukes, because I'm always going to find one somewhere that is either they killed it right away and then it gives me a couple days to identify which ones have been slaughtered, or I can, pick my weakest queens and zombify them and give them a new queen.
Yeah.
And I was watching Bob Binney's video this morning, and he was making, no, or was it Ian's, where he was making splits and adding queens at the same time.
Yeah.
I found that very interesting. I'd like to know a little bit more about how
But he was on candy release, so he was saying it was taking about 4 to 5 days to get through the candy, which is ideal. Like that's a good delay. And then he has to go into those 10 days after making that split and then look for cells. The risk there is, when you introduce a mated queen, there's a period of time where those bees will kill that queen at the drop of a dime, right?
Right.
They will, if you open that hive and start yanking frames, they'll ball that queen up and kill her right in front of your eyes. So my rule with introducing mated queens is you leave them alone as long as you can, a couple of weeks at least. So going in 10 days after split, you still have to be very, very gentle.
But how is it that they can literally Well, no, I think it was the video where he was splitting those nukes that you actually brought home. That he was taking the queen out and putting his queen right in. It was the one about I can't believe I ordered 250 queens or something.
Right.
But how is it? I mean, I understand they're in a cage. I get that, right? They can't get to that queen, but they cannot feed her, and that will still kill her.
There are attendants in the cage.
Well,
and they have candy.
but when you're, how is it that they just don't dislike that queen straight? I mean, is it not dissimilar from putting a QMP strip in or something? Is that kind of the gist? Is, well, they got a queen in here. They may not like her currently, but they will in a few days, or you know, that's interesting.
Problem with introducing a mated queen often is you order them, they get shipped, then it starts to rain and they sit on your desk for a while, and then they shrink up and they're no longer a laying queen. Again, I reference Michael Palmer. He makes that very clear that there is a huge difference between a mated queen and a laying queen as far as colony acceptance goes. And I think Brother Adam talked about that too.
Well, I think even once they're released from the cage, that queen doesn't go immediately to land. She goes walking, kind of almost like a virgin, where she walks around the whole thing and sizes the joint up, and then gets to work.
It takes, yeah. So it's not my favorite way. I don't really like introducing mated queens like that, but I would far rather make a mating nuke and put a virgin in it, or even a cell, and let them grow into that, and then start boosting that up, making it into a full colony. But sometimes, when you get that many colonies to work, that's not feasible. It's just not feasible to do it that way.
I also did the old shell game with the nukes the other day. So,
oh yeah, the shell game.
I had a nuke on 2 bottom boards on either side of a bigger hive, right?
Yeah.
And one of them was really kind of lacking. They had some bees and some brood. They had resources, but they were just lacking population. Well, this other one was pretty strong. So right in the middle of the day, I just swapped them around, and all of a sudden, I went in them today. They look equal as far as population now.
Yep. I've done that in my yard. Of course, I'm lazy, so what I do, because everything's on 2-way pallets, I just do all that with my tractor.
Just move a whole pallet?
I just pick up pallets and move them almost randomly among the apiary, and then things just sort of even themselves out over the day.
Well, it's, I am infamous for making shortcuts in my apiary. However, I will tell you, you better be long in funds when you take shortcuts in the apiary.
Well, that's for sure. You should tread carefully, man.
Because, I'll get like those last 25 queens. I made the splits like that day, right? And then put the queens in. And some of them took. Some of them, however, did not take. And it was just a gamble, right? But I see people that just, now cells are cheaper than queens, that'll just go randomly and put cells in every colony, and whoever wins, wins, and that's the end of it, right?
That is the viable requeening process. The risks in my mind there are not every cell emerges. So you got failures there, and not every queen mates.
Right.
You have failures there. So I would not expect that to be more than 60-70% successful, kind of as a general rule. You definitely can't just walk away from that. You need to come back in a couple of weeks with a plan to say, okay, this 20-30% of them didn't mate,
right?
Aren't laying. So I need a different plan for those.
Well, I'll tell you what has changed this year. After leaving the job, it's become easier for me to put a task in front of me and say, I'm going to do this today. Like today, I have to go check all these for queen cells.
Yeah.
I just checked them the other day for queen cells. Well, there was more queen cells today. So I went back and knocked them all down today again.
And the trouble with that is those emergency cells, they're not very big because they're embedded in the comb. And
you have
to shake those bees off, It's hard to make, be very confident you got them all. But if you've put a mated queen in there and she's been released and then you're doing a cell check, you're not shaking bees off because they're going to kill your queen if you start being rough like that.
Right.
They could. I've seen them ball the queen just by pulling the frame out. It's heartbreaking. You pull that frame out and they just go.
Well, I'm gonna tell you,
and off the old girl.
I think where I failed in the past, as far as making nukes, and you probably will have a totally different thing for me, and that's perfectly fine because your bees will explode like crazy. Mine are more slow process. So these nukes that I've made, if I was putting 2 brood in a food in there, that's all they got. They got no extra comb, no extra foundation. If there was a ton of bees in there, like today when I went and they started hatching out and they looked like thick on the combs, then I added another comb in there. But I'm trying to purposefully make them feel like they're not spread all out, right? They're just on those combs.
You can't have too much space.
And
I manage bees a lot because of that, because I don't want them to have, so I moved from a 4 frame to a 6 frame to a 10 frame, I'm always transferring bees and I have to minimize that because that's a lot of my last year. All I did was transfer bees last year because I made many nukes.
I have one colony that it's in a video that when Chris the Bugman brought me that first bottom board, the oil bottom board, that colony. It didn't matter how much brood I gave them. They always just seemed to dwindle down and dwindle back down. Didn't matter. So they got demoted into a 5 frame. Now in a 5 frame, she seems to be doing pretty well in there. The bees are kind of tighter and she's working the frames. It's fine. If that's all she's ever going to be, I just need to know that I can go and grab a frame of brood out and drop that in another box out of her like a zombie. And
I know a lot of beekeepers, and particularly if they're hobbyists or something, don't really engage in such things. But what you just described is what I saw last year, and it was caused by nosema. So all I'm saying is, if you're seeing stuff like that, don't be afraid to grab a sample and pay a lab to tell you what the heck's going on.
Right.
I paid. It cost me a lot because I sent in a lot of samples and I had a couple of pretty expensive tests done, but you don't have to do that necessarily. And it told me exactly what I wanted to know, and it told me exactly what the problem was, so I could address it. So I just want to throw that in there that, don't assume that it's just size of box or it's the kind of queen or whatever. Sometimes it's something else. And
well, we went into our chat last night. We were just hanging out, guys, and we were talking about a lot of things, but primarily when we started talking about identifying what's going on in your colony, being able to identify a struggling hive compared to a non-struggling hive. And well, she's laying, but something's still not quite right about her, and you don't know what that is necessarily at first.
Yeah.
But over time you can start to identify the differences. So
having an indication there's something wrong is 90% of your journey, right? Because now you can then start whatever needs to be done to find out what is wrong, and the solutions are usually not that hard. But realizing and recognizing something is wrong. It's not just a bad queen. It's not just something else wrong.
My mindset has changed over the past couple years, right? It used to be numbers. I just need a bunch of hives and then I'll get a bunch of honey and then everything will be fine. No. And what we tend to do, so let's say I'm a backyard beekeeper or I've only got 2 colonies and this one's doing really good and this one's struggling. We keep robbing from this one to make this one better, and we'll nurse it and nurse it and nurse it and nurse it and then it gets to winter and dies anyway.
And so does the other one, because now you've robbed enough that it's weak enough it can't winter.
Right, where you would have been much better to just eliminate this one. You could have just threw this one in the trash.
Or requeen it or whatever. Like you
Right.
have to know what's wrong with it. If
Well,
you
I'm just
notice
saying
that-
on scale. I'm just using it
Yeah.
as a 2-hive example here.
Yeah.
You would have been better to shake all these bees out and make one split off of this colony and just make a new colony.
This is something that we have such a hard time, and I still struggle with it too, is people will advise you, don't put up the crappy bees, get rid of them, just abandon them, just run from crappy bees. And usually as a new beekeeper, and usually new beekeepers have, struggle with this more, I think. Well, no, I don't want to, I want to give them a chance and kind of thing. Well, yeah, you can do that, but just remember what you're doing and how it's benefiting you, because you're just spending 90% of your time on 10% of your production. And I'm not
You,
just talking making money. I'm talking success, production of
what
success.
if you had multiple hives and this one's laying, but maybe not great, but she's, keeping up a one frame. She's not really expanding, but she's keeping a deep going. You could just then use this one colony and take a brood and put it in this colony, and a brood and put it in that colony, and a brood and put it in that colony. And now this one weak ass colony that you're struggling to try to survive, you're actually benefiting 3 other colonies.
It's now made your apiary better. And that's why I often talk on my videos about looking at your apiary as an aggregate resource. Now, I say that and most people go, "In the world is he talking about?" An aggregate resource. Aggregate is a combination. It's everything together, right? We so often just look at, queen and bees, queen and bees, queen and bees. That's a unit, is a queen and bees. But your apiary really is an aggregate resource. You've got boxes, bottom boards, tops. You've got frames, comb. You've got brood. You've got pollen. You've got feed frames. You've got queens. So you've got all of these resources, and if that one queen is kind of, lackluster, but she's got 3 frames of brood going, well, take that out of the equation. Take those 3 frames of brood and go buy yourself 3 mated queens, and you've just made some nukes.
Right.
Depending on your time of year, you may or may not be successful with that. But what I'm saying is those are resources that can be very well used outside of where they are now. And they belong to your apiary as a whole, not just that one colony. And that's the idea behind the zombie nukes, is these are queens that I'm not depending on. I'm not, and they don't get a second chance. Zombies in my apiary don't get a second chance. You get put in a box, you get given what you need, and if you don't perform, your head comes off. Right? Because the only reason you're there is to produce resources. You're not there to make money. You're not there to make honey. You're not there to anything.
Right.
You're there to lay brood so that I can use that for mating nukes.
It's the old bee retirement center, is what it is.
Builders. That's squeezing the last bit of juice out of an old queen, is what a zombie is. So,
Tiny Creek Bee,
that's what I mean.
Bee Company asked me when our flow starts and stops. So I usually do my first poll, this last week, right? The middle of May. If you look at the Beekeeping or South Carolina Beekeepers Association website, they have a calendar on there that tells you month by month what's going on. Now, plus or minus 2 months, or plus or minus 2 weeks is kind of how I follow it. Because sometimes we run ahead, sometimes we run it off, but it says the end of June. However, we'll get a dearth at the end of June, and then we'll get a little fall flow, some goldenrod, some stuff like that growing around. So it just depends on what part of South Carolina you're in. And you could be one county over for me. Oh, you're near Clemson. So we have a Facebook group called No Life Beekeepers. Check that one out, because there's some people in there from the upstate as well, more like Rock Hill and that area, but I'm sure they could give you a good direction on that. Where'd you go, Brad?
I'm listening.
You know what
I didn't go anywhere.
What might be nice on those pallets?
What?
It would create a bunch of work, but if there was a section that you could put your, I don't know if you're allowed to use those moth crystals, but you could just put a tray underneath it to where it vented straight up in the towers with the wax moth protection.
That's a good idea, and no, that's not approved for use in Canada. So
okay.
I don't have a problem that way though. Very little moth gets my boxes. That's one benefit of winter is the moths don't live very long once the weather gets cold. Over the winter, my boxes are in unheated storage, so they get plenty cold enough to kill any worms. Yep. And the damage is minimal because they don't sit over the. I don't even see wax moths here until probably at least June, because they migrate north as the weather gets warmer.
Right.
They'll definitely cause some damage if you leave your equipment out. But yeah, my sea can is pretty tight, and they don't get in there.
You know, it's funny. The combs that I left outside, like in stacks out in nature, very little wax moth damage. The ones I put in the building, decimated.
Yeah, if they're open air, you look at the way Mike Berry does it. He stacks them up on end, and I think he has very little wax moth damage. I'm just looking for some of my tools while I'm
he's also got that that awning, right? The like a lean-to on the side of the building that he's got under.
That he puts them under to keep them out of the weather. I was going to put some glue on while we're talking.
You're almost out of glue, aren't you?
Well, I bought some, and I had to buy a little more than I went on for so that I could get the volume discount, if you want to call it.
You know, Todd was talking about ants on his colony yesterday, and I went out to one of my licensed polynukes today, and it was getting pretty hammered with the little ants.
Oh, really?
Well, it's got that top high feeder in it, right? So
yeah,
they walk up and try to get into that, and for the most part, they don't get in the colony that I'm aware of, but it does happen, I'm sure. But it's just one of those years, man, where it seems like things were going good, and then the rains just rain, which is good. Maybe stuff will pop, you know. And
we had so little precipitation this winter that it's hard to curse the rain now because it's really needed. But I just wish it would stop raining for a little while.
Right. JGD Behaving. That's Jegs. Okay. It might. You know, I've only heard of people using moth crystals, and it's got to stay on pretty much the entire time, and then the bees will go right back on it. So, hope, you know, I don't know if that would linger or not linger, but I have used nothing up to this point, and it's gotten me nowhere. It has absolutely gotten me nowhere with wax moss.
Okay,
so, see how loud it is.
Is this the mic that it's using?
No, I don't think. No, I don't hear you tapping on it.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it's pretty loud. It's not like the compressor where the compressor starts and then it background noise is out. But Brad makes some grade A pallets.
What's that?
I said you make grade A pallets. You know, usually when we do these little chats here, I don't usually post up a link, but I will post up a link today.
Yeah, post up a link. I'll go on mute so I can drive.
And
if you find another guest,
I'll pin the message. There we go. It's pinned to the top of the chat. So if you have a camera and you want to come in, come on in. Let's see what you're doing today. But
I'm just going to mute and drive some screws.
Okay. So Brad's muting along, and my grandbaby will be here tomorrow for at least a night, and then we're driving down to Charleston to pick up their vehicle that's coming in from Europe, and then I think it'll be a few weeks, and then they'll be back for a few weeks here. So we'll see how that plays out. But I get to see my little man for the first time, get to hold him. So, which I don't know how I want to be held because he's almost walking. I mean, he's walking around like coffee tables and stuff, holding the edges. But so that's exciting times. I was trying to get everything done before they get here, and I've got most of it caught up. Went ahead and mixed the creamed honey this morning. Yeah, Amy did get out there, and she enjoyed being out there for a little while, getting out. Thing is, she needs training. When I say training, she needs to know more about the honey and stuff like that, right? When she's selling it. But she does chime in, oh, that would be great if you were cooking fish or chicken or something like that. So she helps out, and she enjoys getting out there. So we had a good time. It wasn't a great honey sales day. I think we did $120 yesterday, and conveniently enough, it cost me $147 to buy the awning. So net negative $27 day. Lee's pulled 3.5 more buckets of honey today. Sweet. I need to get out there. It's just been overcast and rainy. So if we get a nice day this week, I'll probably pull some more as well. I'm trying to figure out my timeline to squishing the bees back into a single to get that going without them swarming, because usually after the flow, it seems like that's when I'm getting my swarms. So, and with the queens coming in, we're gonna have to get those in, and I already have some liquid feed on the nukes, and so they're doing pretty good. Can't complain about them. Look at Brad; he's a assembling machine. He just never stops. He's like the Energizer Bunny. Well, I just finished 3,000 pallets. Only 10,000 more to go. But you're going to be bottling this week too? Awesome. We've got I've got, I don't know how many more pounds out there, but I've got, should be quite a bit still on the colonies. It's just that I have to do a in-depth dive because some frames are drawn, some aren't. Trying to get all that done. And then what I'll do is I'll take these drawn combs I just pulled off and put them back on, and probably start removing some of the foundations that were not drawn. And the next year, those will be the first ones that get on. Hopefully, we'll see. I mean, I can't complain about the honey that I've gotten so far, because the honey that I've gotten so far is 3 times what I got at the same time last year. A little bit less than 3 times. I pulled a 110 last year, this on the 14th, and this year on the 15th, I pulled 300. So, and I didn't go through every single colony, so there's probably more out there. Well, not probably, there is more out there. And Brad's just getting to work with it. Look at that. Just like that, you got a pallet.
Just like that, I have a pallet.
You got a pallet.
So I just need to put runners on the bottom.
Hey, Keith, let me know, because I can't use all these queens. If you want to run up and buy some off of me, let me know. Because right now I'm kind of colony rich. More colonies than I probably need to have right here. I hate to say, I feel like I need to have 10,000 so I can have at least 18 coming out of winter instead of 17.
You hate to say it because you know someday you're going to pay for that statement, right?
Well, I pay for it every year.
Yeah.
Every year I pay for it. So, but right now, overall, the bees are looking pretty good. I mean, they're not the same, but this is when this time of year, June, July, August, September. That's when it really you'll know what's going to happen, right? So
A little heavier than a two-way pallet.
well, it should be. It's twice as big.
Yeah.
Should be twice as heavy, actually.
Right.
So now you're gonna put some runners on.
Yeah, I'm debating whether I should set the runners back, but I think I would like to have some tops to these tubes. So I don't know if I want to make it like a big migratory cover, maybe. So I think I'm going to set these runners back.
I think you do need to make it like a big migratory cover because you could, from last year, you could have rodent possibly get in there and go if it's space. Yeah, they can go in.
And yeah, these aren't in the honey house though, not in the bee barn. There's usually not a lot of rodent problem in there. But what was I going to say? Oh, with the pallets, I can stack them 9 high, so I can put a pallet of 5, a pallet of 4 on top. So I don't want to set a pallet right on top of the open supers.
Right.
Having them open at the top is one thing, but having them, set that on there, that's not good because you might have set that pallet on the ground out there, right? You don't want gravel and mud and stuff. So I think I'd better do that. I don't know if that's a full 3/4 inch piece of plywood, maybe a 1/2 inch piece or 3/8 even. But I just envision where I want this runner. Fortunately, I had 4 runners left over from the other pallets. So I can put that runner on the outside like this, in which case you can't really lock it in.
Right.
Or I can set it back. That. One of the
only reason I would suggest to go ahead and set it back is because you already know what those dimensions are for everything. You don't have to refabricate nothing.
Well, that's true. True. But there also is the issue that my 2-way pallets don't stack very well because the U-clip is where the runner is. You have to offset the pallet every time, but the stacks aren't really very nice. And I know a lot of the guys build 4-way pallets for migratory, for taking bees to almonds and whatnot. They'll set that runner back enough so that when they stack that pallet on another one, the U-clip sits in front of it here.
Right.
Right. So I'm considering that because that U-clip, because again, these are not as deep as the 2-way pallet. They've got no overhang, just deep box. Right. So the clip will be only an inch from the edge here and go back. So that's 3 inches. What I can do is I could set that runner back 3.5, and then that runner will go behind the U-clips if I want to stack these pallets together.
Right.
Sounds like a reasonable approach because it's only 3.5 inches. It's not an issue. So then that'll also allow me to, if I'm going to put this pallet on a cover of some kind, will allow that clear here. So I think that's what.
Well, you will for sure get it figured out. I know you will.
Talking it through, no? I don't. I think about these things a long time before I do them.
Let's see. Lappy's Bee Supply says they have queens available for quick shipping. Shipment on Monday for Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. But yeah, that's all I've been. I mean, it seems like I've been doing. When I say what I've been doing, it doesn't sound like a lot. But then when I actually go and do it, it seems like it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's like me, Well, I fed my bees today. Oh well.
What's he complaining about? He only did 4 things today. Yeah, but I did 4 things 20 times.
Well, or sometimes I do one thing. I just do it 200 times.
But but your yard is getting back up to speed and running now, right? So
Yeah,
what's the breakdown of your yard currently?
sure. So last week, Monday, I took my equipment in. Of course, if you watch the vlog, you'll know this. And Wednesday, I went over. And there was a very generous man in our association who gifted me 6. Well, he said he had 6 colonies for me, and I went over to get them Wednesday evening, and he said I don't have 6. He said I have 8. So we loaded 8 up in the truck. Came home. I had a really good friend help me do all this moving. Really nice. Came home. We put those in the apiary, and then we left them. And that was Wednesday. Thursday, I went out and I split all those colonies because it was really kind of funny because it was a cool and not really rainy, but it could rain anytime, right? Day. And that's the perfect day for moving bees. I picked up those hives and threw them in the truck, and I couldn't tell there was any bees even in the boxes. But Thursday when I opened them up, holy smokes, they were packed, and they had about 7, 8 frames of brood in every box. So I made 2 splits off every one of those. So I had 16 queenless splits out there by the end of Thursday. And Friday, then same friend that helped me move them, we went over to Ian's, picked up 54 zombie nukes that Ian had made out of some of his queens that he was going to throw away. So he very generously put them in a box for me. Of course, I took the boxes over there and outfitted them with frames and whatnot. So we picked those up, brought them back, and also bought some queens from Ian. And so we got home and we put those in. I think it was 12 we put in there into those queenless splits that I had made the day before. So referencing our earlier conversation, a little bit of a problem because I didn't get a chance to do rogue cell checks on those. I'm going to have to do those maybe late this coming week. Just have to be real gentle doing that after the queen is out.
But it's
So
not only queens, they're special queens too, aren't they?
they are special queens. These queens are bred from Randy Oliver's ongoing breeding, mite resistant breeding project, and they came out of Ray Oliver's operation. So they're very special queens to me. I'm very excited to have them, and I have to get really good at my mite washes to track everything that's going on. So the 6 that I'm getting on Thursday are Ray Oliveira's Cardinal and Queens, so they came from the same place.
Is the so you went from 3 out of the barn?
Yeah, 3 survivors. Yeah.
And now you're sitting at where?
So there was the 8 that I got, so that's 11, right? And then there's 16, so that's 27. I'm not counting the zombies because they're not really colonies; they're not production colonies. So it's 27. I'm expecting a few nukes from another association member that's selling a few nukes to me at a discount. and that's the people here on the channel who have been generous to me. They've pitched in some cash to buy some new. So the queens that I purchased, Randy's queens, Ray's queens, and a few nukes. So so that'll probably round it out to about 30. It may be a little more than 30. And there's 50 nukes coming from a beekeeper who I helped out a couple of years ago. He's returning. He's
So
returning kindness.
that's important to me.
Yeah,
You helped a guy a few years ago that was in a similar situation.
yeah,
And when he saw you were in the same situation,
yeah.
then he stepped forward and helped you out.
That's right.
Right.
That's
And I mean, I hate to say it, I fired somebody yesterday, and it's because everything was one-sided, right?
Yeah, you definitely have to, well, you don't have to. Like, you don't have to give, you don't have to help at all, but you will find if you start giving from the heart, you'll find that you can't help it that you'll be getting more back than you can possibly give. And this year, in my position, I've been humbled so much that's definitely been the case. People have come out of the woodwork to offer me a hand up, and in a variety of ways, which is great, because
Right.
you don't just get one thing and then struggle to keep up in other ways. There's been so many different ways. So if we talk about the 50, then that's about 80, and the zombies. The whole point of the zombies here is just to lay about a month of brood until James McNally said he'd kick in 50 queens, which, boy, that's a big gift. That's a big gift. God bless him. And so, this is the chickens, the eggs haven't hatched yet, so
It's an ongoing
everything is,
process.
everything is subject to change. And so that should happen in about a month, mid June or so. And so the zombies then are going to be amalgamated in that idea of an aggregate resource, right?
Right.
To make nukes out of the 50 that James has planned to bring by. And I'll put those in sixes and run those into honey in sixes and winter them there, just because they're a bit later. I
Well,
imagine. I mean, if those zombies all have 4 frames of brood, then they'll all go into tens.
well, we get a lot of the same viewers, right, that watch our streams all the time, and some people may or may not know because there's some names that I didn't recognize, but for the first time today. So, James, sorry, Brad. I was thinking James because of the Queen. Brad had close to 200 colonies that he put into the barn
175
over the winter, and I think 8 came out originally, but they kind of dwindled down.
Yeah, it was the 8 or 11 or something, but they didn't survive. They just were weak.
They just weren't dead yet. He got them out. So he had 3 that made it through.
With 172 losses.
Yeah. So, and unlike a lot of us that might work a second job or something like that, this is your job. I mean, this is what you do.
Yeah, you think I'd be better at it?
Well, yeah, but you're not a doctor. You're not going to cure disease in bees, right? Yeah. So,
and I do know people are saying, well, why? Well, I do know it was amatraz resistant mites, and I can't change that except that I'm done using amatraz. I won't use that product anymore. And the thing that I could have done to affect things and perhaps have things turn out differently is be better at my post-treatment mite washes. And I'm a big preacher of that now. If you're not doing post-treatment mite washes, you're playing with the devil. You need to do post-treatment mite washes, because if your treatment didn't work, like it was in my case, you might have time to try something else, which wasn't the case in my case. Those bees were dying before I knew what was going on.
Right. And a lot of times, I mean, that's when we figure it out. It's already too late, right? Unless you just happen to live in South Carolina and drop an Appy tablet on in September, and miraculously,
yeah, I can't fix much after early to mid-August.
Yeah, Well, I mean, that colony, I was surprised. I mean, I honestly was surprised it made it through the winter.
Yeah, that's quite a story, that one. I'm going to grab a beverage here, hopefully.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the thing is, I mean, as far as helping, back to that story there, is that, you know, a lot of times, and I don't know if it's just my area, I'm sure it's other areas, but people, I am more than willing to answer questions and help people. I mean, we do a live stream all week. Every week, we do a live stream to answer people's questions and talk about bees. Not once has these people, two people, ever shown up in the chat to watch and learn or ask questions or something like that. But boy, they'll call you up and, you know, send you a text message, and which is fine. But if you put it into perspective that one of them's stiffed me on a sale over a couple bucks, but then continues to use the resource, right? And it's like I'm like Wikipedia for bees, right? Let me just call them up and find something out, and then I'm going to go do my thing, and I won't hear from them for 6 months.
Yeah.
Right. Or, hey, I need some syrup. Can I get syrup? Well, no, not now. You know, that's $600 you cost me last time. That could have been something, but, you know, I mean, so sometimes you have to give back, even if you're a mentee. Sam is my mentor. I can call him up anytime. But you know what? When I go get syrup, the first stop that I go to is Sam's place. How much of this do you need?
If he needs anything. Yep.
And he could tell me 100 buckets. And guess what? We would sit there and get 100 buckets out.
Yeah.
Because we work together. That's what a mentor-mentee relationship is.
Well, it's relationships, whatever, you know, regardless of what kind of relationship that is.
Matt,
I try to be helpful to people. I've had some relationships that don't work out, and I've had some people helping people out and whatnot. And there's just times when they're just kind of taking it for granted and expecting it and talking to you like you're the help or something like that.
Right.
Sort of, well, maybe I don't have what you need next time kind of thing.
I mean, I told the guy, you know, the only time he called me is when there was an emergency or to get validation on what.
Yeah.
So nothing bugs me more in life.
To me, hop over and have a beer someday.
Yeah.
Right? When I'm standing here for hours on end, putting together pallets in the middle of winter, and nobody's really that busy with the bees and something, hop over and raid my fridge in my shop. Stand here and talk to me. Right? That's giving back. That's giving some of your time to me.
Well, it's showing that not only you care about what's going on over here, not just what's going on over there. Right. And that's kind of, it's tricky for me because nothing bugs me more than when someone calls me, nobody in the chat, because I know these people don't watch the chat, or watch the videos, but they'll call you and ask you how to do something. And then you spend 45 minutes on the phone explaining exactly in detail, do this, then do this, and then do this.
Yeah.
And then they say the very next thing is, well, Dr. Leo does this. Well, then do it Dr. Leo's way and don't call me.
Go talk to Dr. Leo.
Yeah, call him up and let him give you advice, or you know, well, I watched a Bob Binney video, and Bob Binney's doing it.
Or they call you a week later because what they didn't work, and then you realize that they didn't do what you said.
They not even close. Well, I did the Demarest you were talking about, but I didn't use a queen excluder. Oh, so all you did was add supers on top. Got it. That's all you did was rotate the brood. So you didn't do the process at all. You just did whatever you were going to do. So that 45 minutes I spent on the phone with you was wasted. Now, guess what? I'm wasting more time explaining that you didn't do anything I said. And then it's like, hey, can you help me move these long Langstroth hives? Sure. And we went and dropped them off. And then he says, oh, well, I got a few more to move. you'll need to call somebody else for that. You know,
as far as helping with bees, I really struggle with that because obviously I don't have a really good grasp on everything. I can't tell you exactly how to manage your bees all year long. Obviously, I've had mixed results and mixed success.
Thank you, Morgan.
But
appreciate that, buddy.
Oh wow, that's great, Morgan. But I've actually been a teacher in my life.
As have I.
For a job, and I've noticed that I really prefer to teach people to understand, right? It's far better, in my opinion, and it's difficult. It takes a lot more of my effort and a lot more of my time to do it this way, but it's far more beneficial to the student to lead them to answer their own question.
What are you trying to do? Well, why are you trying to do that?
Well, ask me a question, and then I'll ask them a bunch of questions around that question. If you can, because a lot of times when we're trying to solve a problem, we just don't know what the right question is. We don't know what question to ask. So I'll ask them the questions that they should be asking themselves, that are things that they should know, right? It's not more advanced things, it's less. And then get those wheels turning. And then more often than not, then they'll come to the point, the light bulb will go on and say, well, considering those things, maybe this is answering my question. And I may not say, yes, that's the answer. I may say, I think you're on the right track. And from what I can see, I think if you go in that direction, you'll find the solution to your problem.
They're trashing me in the comments over there.
Because the assumption that I know everything, like a teacher doesn't know everything. I think the most valuable thing a teacher can do is help you understand how to think about things like that.
I'm trying to see.
Are you defending yourself?
Well, I don't see any calls from Matt on here. And I don't see any calls from Kim and Hannah on here. I don't see Gunline Bees on my phone. I'm just checking to make sure I didn't miss any in the last bit. Oh, but there's one thing for sure. If you call me during old man nap time, you're not going to get it. Phil says I'm almost on Charlie's notoriety level. Notoriety. But yeah, I mean, so.
But anyway, that's I like to keep the education part of it positive, and I worked with a guy years ago, and this was in IT, and he would sit there and just bounce things off me because he was eager to learn, he was eager to keep me talking,
right?
Because I was a senior guy, and he was just happy to be there. And he would throw. You ever play Yahtzee? You know what Yahtzee is?
Yeah.
Right. So this is how I envisioned what he was doing. He would take that Yahtzee cup and he would fill it full of random words, and he'd shake it up and throw it out on a table and then look at me. Right? He would just throw out a whole bunch of random things in a sentence that didn't make any sense most of the time. And then he would expect me to come up with some wisdom. And I let that go on a while. And then I said to him, I said, the quality of my answer to your questions is directly proportional to the effort you put in your questions. Because you're not putting any effort in your questions at all. These are not good questions. They're just garbage to make me talk. And I don't really, because I don't know what you want to know.
Right.
I'm a guy who wants to answer what you want to know. So, it's good to kind of think about your question a bit. And not make it a 20-minute question either. Like, think about your question and then concise it down to something that somebody can answer.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I think when you're in learning mode, you got to put a little bit in, right? You're sweat equity, if you will. So like when I go to Sam's, if I need information, I go and I hang out with Sam while he's going through his bees, and and help him do whatever he needs. I mean, I've run the weed around his hives before, while he's working his bees. Why? First of all, he's an older guy, right? And it's hot out, and it's just helping him out. Had nothing to do with
that. Sometimes that is all you need, is you just need somebody to look over there and say, you know what, pick those boxes up, put them on a skid for me. I just don't get to that, and I don't have the energy to do that because there's so many other things pending. Sometimes you just need that stuff.
And then, then I say, hey, what would you think about this? And then listen for his answer.
Yeah.
It's just information. Do I always...
You're working the bees and he's stacking boxes, and you see something interesting. It's like, hey, come over and look at this. I'll show you this. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's just there's Ian. Hey, Ian. Midday chat. Just in for his dinner. So, yeah, it's just sometimes in time management, right? And that's what it comes down to. We only have X number of hours in a day.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound terrible, but it's the same thing. If I was at your place and you've got 200-300 hives you're trying to get through, you don't have time to pick up the phone and every time, right? It's like, okay, I'll call him back, and hopefully I remember to call him back. Or
I absolutely don't have time.
And that's that's one of the things that it gets hard, and I'm realizing that more now because I'm spending more time in the bees during the day. And if I've got a veil on and gloves or honey on my fingers from extracting honey, I'm not going to pick up my phone to talk. And heck, half the time I probably don't even hear it if the uncapper's rattling and the honey's extractor spinning,
I hear you. Build more pallets for you, Ian.
4-3 and 4-4 is the last time I answered. Was that also conveniently the last time you called me? That's crazy. Getting trashed on my own stream.
Yikes. Yikes.
Let me see. Inline. April 3rd, I called you. March 27th, I call you. Oh, look. I had a missed call on March 27th and called you right back on the 27th. But most of the time, it's Bob calling Gunline, not Gunline calling Bob. Let me go to, let's see, Matt. I got Matt from Matt and Sarah. That's how it's in my phone. I did miss 2 calls from Matt on the 23rd and 24th. And before that, look, he missed 3 calls from me. We're playing phone tag. Missed calls, call, missed call, call. Oh, Matt missed my calls. I missed Matt's calls. I have been meaning to call you, though, to be honest with you.
I like voicemail. If somebody phones and doesn't leave a voicemail, like if I don't answer, then especially if there's no call display, I don't know who it is. Not likely going to get a call back.
Blame shifter. It was. That's funny. Brad is building his 4-way pallets for his honey supers to go in his sea can.
So these will go in the honey house when I'm extracting. And then the freshly extracted boxes will go right on these. And that'll be the last time I have to touch those. It's a bit of a disjointed workflow at this point. There's not a really good
Phil, thanks, Phil. He said towards hiring an answering service, $20. I'll have to hire some foreign workers to answer the phone for me. You guys got jokes today. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I just thought we would hang out for a minute. I did want to talk to you about something, Matt, though. Honestly, I haven't called you back. I've been making honey. Press 1 for English. So what's the next thing on your agenda as far as bees?
Me?
Yep.
Well, I got that one split out there that I didn't find the queen, so I just moved the brood up above the excluder. So I need to go out there and move that over to its final resting place. Over to the split.
You make that sound way too final for beekeeping when you say final resting place. No puns intended.
I need to do that today because today is it's pretty nice out there. It just wasn't very warm. And it's going to rain all week again. So what does the thing say for weather? It says it's 17 now, so that's warm enough. I'll put this pallet aside for now.
It's only 71 degrees here right now.
71?
That's what, room temperature, whatever that is in C.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's
17 is just under room temperature.
But this time of year, we're usually 80, 90 degrees, and it's 70. So yeah, it's not a normal year for us. But what I'm starting to realize after becoming a beekeeper is there's never a normal year. Every year is something stupid.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, that's. I think some folks in the world think that it should be the same weather all the time.
Yeah, it definitely shifts. So anyway, how long we've been on here? 1 hour and 9 minutes. That's probably good for a lunchtime chat. I just figured that we would go live and see what we could talk about. And I really was expecting like Charlie or Todd or somebody to click the link and jump in, and nobody did.
Not just me.
Well, sometimes you get boring. No, I'm just kidding.
Sometimes I get boring. Sometimes I just walk out of the frame.
Just walk out of the frame, start nailing stuff.
Yeah. That's me.
All that kind of stuff.
All that.
And all that. Well, we're talking about single brood chamber management and all that.
So I got 2 more. I had some leftover pieces here from big pallets. Some leftovers here. So I've got 4 more. I brought it. I was going to count it up. I guess, but I realized I could use these leftovers. Just put because my riser goes this way. I could screw them together and nobody's wise. So that is what I did.
David, did you go live in the last hour? Let me see. I don't know if there's something wrong with my computer or not. Sometimes I have to force the updates, like refresh a screen before it'll show me the updates, like on YouTube and stuff. And now Todd comes in.
What's up, guys?
You have like a whole apparel. You have like a whole wardrobe line of hot sauces. Like today you're in Sriracha. The other day you were in Tabasco.
Well, These are my bee clothes now, but
Your
they
bee
were my COVID t-shirts.
because you got
So
spicy beans.
yeah. Oh man, it's hot out
I
here.
found
Newsflash.
today after watching
A,
yours
a what?
a colony with it was a licensed 6-frame nuke that had those little, we call them piss ants, the little sugar ants, but it was
Mm-hmm.
a ton of them. They were going to that top hive feeder,
Yeah.
and
I
just
found 2 more hives this morning that the ants helped vacate. So that's roughly 16 now.
the ants have run 16 colonies out.
Yeah. Well, 12 of those were 4-frame nukes that were, young, but they ran out four nice colonies. So I put all the oil traps back under yesterday, and that was fun. And I have like 4 more that I have to refill oil on. And in the meantime, I was snooping around and I found 20 more frames of honey. So
You accidentally ran into
I
20
accidentally
frames.
ran in. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I'm taking a break right now. It's freaking hot.
the
I'm burning up. I don't know. My shirt might show you it. It's soaking wet.
yeah, and that's without a jacket on. Even a vented jacket, I
Oh.
get like that.
And this is, oops. This is a vintage jacket too.
Oh, I thought you were
And
doing
now
a
it's
Brad
probably going to be.
short pants
Oh,
bee
no.
work.
No. No. Not today. Although
Well,
I
I
wouldn't
went
mind
out.
doing that on hot days.
I went out and equalized my nukes and knocked down the queen cells again.
Yeah.
And when I'm out there putting queens in, I will check them once again to make sure when those queens go in, there are no cells and no chance in there.
Yeah.
One thing with those colonies, those splits for the queens, they're not full boxes. They're not full of comb, right? There's only maybe 3 frames in most of them. So makes it real quick to look for queen cells. You got 2 frames to look at, 3 frames max.
Yeah.
Usually what I did was 2 frames in like a foundation in case they got froggy and wanted to start drawing some comb. Then they would have some room. But it was they looked pretty good. I mean, I had to maneuver some stuff around. I did find that marked queen on a frame again, and I took her and moved her way down on the other side with her bees and put her on 1 frame. That's all she get, 1 frame in the box. Actually, I think I put an extra foundation or a comb that I extracted out down there for her. And that's it. That's what she gets. Bad thing is she's probably a great queen, which is how she ended up in the box because the bees that she was in. But she was red marked, which means she's old. Last year's queen.
Yeah.
So where she would have came from, maybe, I don't know. Maybe there is an absolute positive chance that you remember Hivezilla?
Yeah.
That could be the queen because remember I said I didn't worry about where the queen was, where she came from. I just split that colony out into a bunch of nukes. Well, those nukes are all the ones that I split to make my splits for these new queens. So there's a chance that could be Queenzilla. That could be her. Which she's demoralized to hell now. So
your talk about queen cells and queens and all that reminded me of what I just did before I took a break. I obviously this hive swarmed out, But I found, I think it was 6 or 7 queen cells that are ready to hatch. And so I grabbed my little wire cages and I put them over the cells. When I get back in my jacket, I'll go show you guys what it is. Yeah. I'm just gonna see if it still works. If it does, I have a couple colonies. I'm gonna switch.
I almost did that today. I was thinking about it. I was like, well, did you just get stung?
No, a fly flew in between my eyeball and my glasses.
Well, I almost did that. I almost took those queen cells and took because I only had 2 frames. One of them had queen cells. One of them didn't. If I would have just took that queen cell and split it off to another one, like just a walk away, put my 2 frame, just put it in a 2 frame and walk away from it. I might have got another queen out of it, but I crushed them all to leave the bee powder there. But I definitely could have done that several times. What are you eating, sir? Barbecue pork chicharrones.
Yeah, good to the last crumb.
Jeez.
Hey, you missed a crumb, Morgan.
I'll mop it up later.
I'm gonna get my jacket back on. I'll go show you those things. So I'm gonna cut my camera for a minute. All right.
All right. Yep. So what you been up to, Morgan?
Oh, this weekend I'm working on trying to get the garage straightened up a little bit, and a little bit working in the backyard, and a little later I'm gonna go put I had one colony hive that I had to consolidate down into one brood box, so they're ready for another brood box. So I'm gonna go put them a new brood box on.
You gotta let them. Do you just let them run in double deeps, or do you use a queen excluder in a second box over it?
I'll just let them run the double deep.
So the technique that has seemed so far to work, I stole from Ian those guys. I did. I give them that second brood box, let them build up and fill that up, and then, boy, I shake all those bees down into one box and throw an excluder on it and put that box back and let them start filling that up with honey, and it's worked so far.
Good.
So we'll see. But
think about, because I know I'm not gonna get any honey off of them this year anyway, probably with the way it worked out. Think about just putting wax frames in there and let them build new combs, so I'll have more comb for next year.
So what are you at, 5 now or 4?
4, because the one that
one swarmed and then you split back to it.
Well, it swarmed, and I don't know what happened, but when I went and looked in the box, there wasn't hardly any bees and mostly drones.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a swarm that had got up underneath something I didn't see where they were at, and apparently got too cold or something, and most of them died off. And I found one little clump, and it had a queen in it. So I put them back in and put a couple frames of
bees, brooding bees
and stuff in there, trying to.
And
they've taken off, so I don't know if it was the queen cell I put in there with, because I wasn't sure if she was a good queen or they were trying to, or what their deal was. So I said, well, if I got a queen, they won't. If she's good, they won't let the other ones go. So I just put queen cell in there and some frames and let nature take its course.
Yep, that's the thing. That's I've been able this year, even though I didn't start the year this way because I'm only working the bees now, is I've been able to be more attentive, I guess, to what's going on in my colonies. Does that mean all of them are perfect? No, but I've been able to make more strategic moves as compared to, well, I've got a couple hours before it's dark. Let me get out here and go through as many hives as I can. And it's less crisis management. Yeah, sometimes, you know what? I've got a 2-framer that I've been trying to let nature roll with it. And last time I was in there, they had 2 queen cells, and one of them's gone, and one of them's getting ready to hatch out now. And I didn't see a virgin walking around in there. But I've been playing with that thing for a long time. I could have just split, you know, made a split by the time I've been playing around with that thing. But we'll see what happens to them. They don't have many bees left in there anyway.
This year's been more of a learning year than I think ever for me, because the weather was so bipolar. You would get hot, cold, hot, cold.
Welcome to my world.
And then the times whenever I was working, the weather was great. And then on the weekends or that, it was
raining
or cold.
Right.
Like, so, well, the bees keep doing what the bees are going to do. They ain't waiting on you. So they got ahead of me this year. So next year I might have to be a little more. I got to do something. I may if it's rainy a little bit, I may just bite the bullet, put my canopy over top of them, and
right.
do what I got to do.
Todd's got muted and no camera right now, so he must still be trying to get his jacket on. But yeah, I mean, it's just like that colony DC's talking about there. That's exactly what we were talking about at the beginning. You might be better, DC, and I don't know the colony. I'm not suggesting you do it, but you might be better to shake those bees out, or just make a split to that box, a nice split, and give them a new queen, or let them raise a queen. I don't know what your situation is on queens right now. That's why I'm saying that. Because I've been fighting with one since last year. It was a new queen. I mismarked her, right? She's sloppily marked. But in a 10 frame box, she sucked. But as soon as I moved her back to a nuke box, she started laying up frames because the bees were so much tighter. And she started doing better. So she might just be a queen that only will ever make resources for me, you know? I don't know, but
could you put like another 5 frame on top of it? Then when they get that all full and there's a bunch of bees and all, and then put both those 5s in a 10, then you'll have enough.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I can do that. But she's proven that she hadn't been able to keep up a hive worth a damn. Todd did show his camera and then went away from his camera again before I bring him back in. But yeah, that's the goal is as I'm getting more colonies, I've got less patience for crappy hives, right? And having the resources to be able to make a move is much different than if you've got 2 colonies or something like that. Because I think when you have 2 colonies, there he is. When you've got 2 colonies, you're constantly trying to limp that one along, when you would be much better just to either replace that queen or eliminate her, you know, or something like that, you know. What you got going on, Todd?
Oh, I just wanted to show everybody about these cages. Oh,
yep,
can you see that?
I don't.
I can't even see my I can't see my screen.
Yep, 3 cages.
But, yeah, I've got one there. That's one frame. I have 2 more on another frame.
On the next frame,
So
hold the frame longer so we can see the camera on it
Oh.
longer.
I'll just grab the same frame.
Flash.
I can't even see my screen. It's like dark.
Down a little bit. There you go. There, right there.
So all I did was put it around the cell. The one on the left has a double in there. Can't split those up. You see that one?
Yep. That's perfect. Yeah. That's exactly what I did. I went from 4 to 16 colonies using that method right there. Yeah,
it's ideal. When you find something like that, that's what I do.
So if you guys aren't sure what he's doing, I don't have a frame here, but let's say this is a frame and you've got cells all over it. He's taken maybe a 2x4 and drilled a hole in it, and then he's put that metal mesh in there and like a dowel or a round piece of wood and hammered it to bend the mesh in there and cut it off. And it makes a little cage. So then you take that cage and you put it over your cells. So when the queen hatches out, it hatches in that little cage. So you can take the frame off, release that cage, catch the queen, and put her in another box. And it's a little bit more challenging on a foundationless frame because the bees could come in from the backside or burrow through the wax and get to the queen if you're not on top of it. But if you do it, right, you can really put that whole frame in, remove the one cage, let that queen run out, take that frame out of your split. And it works really well.
What time is it? What time is it?
Right.
It's almost 2:00 here, so 11:00 your time.
It's 11. Oh, I'm already wiped out.
You still experiencing robbing or no?
No. It's very, very gentle robbing pressure. There must be something going on. I don't know what it is, but maybe, I don't know, maybe some eucalyptus trees somewhere else are blooming. I don't know. Anyway.
But where are you at? You're at like 580 colonies?
No, I'm after the ants. I'm like at 56 colonies right now after the ants.
You're putting nappy tablets on?
58 colonies, I think.
You know, when you had that dearth and you put the appy tablet on, did you notice them going to it real good?
Yeah, because I'm
your sound cut out on us.
And they're starting to move again.
Oh yeah, because I mean they have nothing else to take.
Chew on.
So I still. Hey, how about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You're
kind of lagging a bit.
Yes? Well, I'm going to cut out of here because I want to finish up and go home and eat lunch. I'm almost done.
All right, Todd.
I'll catch up with you guys later.
Brad. All right, man. Have a good one. It's like Brad's getting some runners put on there.
Yeah, this pallet's a prototype. I kind of engineer what features. I want to be able to pick up this pallet from either way, and I debated on how to do that. Some pallets they'll have just a big square block here, here in the middle, and some pallets have in the runner they'll have a cutout,
right?
Like that for the forks. And I decided to go this route, but I didn't allow for that when I put my runners on, and my runners are too close together, so I have to fix that problem, and I also have to cut the cutouts. So I'm just getting my template made for that. Not sure how I'm going to cut that, although I have a new toy, so this is a really good reason to try out the new toy.
Sawzall.
Or the Sawzall.
Brad, then I'm not as good with wood as I was with metal when I was in, but like something like if we were doing something like that with metal, where the corners are at, we would have drilled a hole and then cut to it to make it round, so there's not a stress point there. Does wood work the same way?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I should probably do that. So I can go to my drill press and use a Forstner bit to cut a hole in each end, and then cut this part with the Sawzall and there. I think that's what you mean, right?
Right, because the corners make a
Yeah, you're right. If I were to make this a square corner, then of course the fibers of the wood go this way, right? If I make it a square corner, that could split there pretty easily. However, there's not a lot of stress on this part, but still, that's a good. I notice on the pallets that I use, it's rounded. the corner there. So good point. Thanks for making that point.
And I have no idea what you just said. It was like Chinese to me.
Well, I can do it here in a second. Wait.
So basically what you're doing is taking the stress off of that 90-degree angle.
Yeah, because when you make a rounded cut there, all that stress, instead of being a 1 point, is that whole arc.
Oh, I gotcha.
You don't have that 1 point.
Spreading the load. Awesome. All right. So, see, I'm learning too. I'll probably never in my life build a pallet, but it's nice to know.
So I got that
Oof.
little Forstner bit.
Well, that's something like if you can do too, like if you got something at home that you're trying to fix, if it's a crack running along it, you're going to glue it, drill each end of the crack. That'll stop the crack and then glue it. But
It looks like me. Every time I use something, I got to move something to use it and then move it back.
that's why I spent half a day yesterday in the garage. I just emptied out half of it into the yard.
I got it.
Away what I wanted to throw away, organized, and
I got 2 or 3 spaces that I've got to do that too.
I mean, I took a whole pickup truck load of stuff to the dumpster, and then I filled up two of the big trash cans full of stuff to take out to the street. But I can walk through the garage now, so I can actually organize the other side without having to. I can do that on a rainy day when I can't do other stuff now.
I keep seeing bits of sunshine come through, and then it gets cloudy and rainy look again. So if I had Brad's workshop, it would look like Brad's workshop, only with much more crap just laying around.
Oh, there's plenty of crap laying around. Don't you worry.
That's my problem too. I'll get in a hurry. I'll just take something out in the garage and lay it down, and then lay it more down. Then it's like, oh crap, where's everything at?
I haven't seen my workbench in about 3 years, which is too bad. I love that workbench.
It looks better in my toolbox.
Yeah.
I said that the other day about my honey house. I said I get so mad about all the stuff sitting around, but not mad enough to actually clean it up.
Yeah. Well, I spend half my time moving things around so I can do what I want to do. I can't find my truck key, so I can't change the.
I did buy a broom to actually sweep it, so that'll help.
Yeah. Well, I decided, because my problem was I'd go out in the garage to start something, and I'd start on it, and I would get overwhelmed and just say, "Oh, the heck with it," and walk back in.
See, I'd be more likely to say, well, I could clean this honey house, or I could just build a new honey house and move everything over there that I want. I've been toying with getting one of those portable buildings to store my honey in once it's jarred and everything. And that way people can just walk in the building, get their honey from the inside, right? No problems with rain.
It's filled with crap too. Don't you worry.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was thinking. And then it's like, well, what would the county say about having a building like in the front, right? It would be probably not.
Making money. You could guarantee you're gonna want something.
Easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah, until then they come and make you have to move everything.
That's why you put it on skids and or something, and you can just hook it to the truck and pull it to the back.
Slide it to the back. We might have to see Brad's Forstner bit on the next episode.
Yeah. I could just use the drill. It's just harder to roll.
Yeah, especially if it catches and snaps your wrist in half.
Yeah, you know.
It's never fun. I did go buy a new drill for mixing up creamed honey.
Find one the other day?
Yeah, I got it at Harbor Freight. I got the the mixing stick and the drill for $45 or something like that. It was pretty cheap.
Have
They had it on sale. What's that?
Have you tried it in the bucket yet like that?
Yeah, I've been using it. It's not ideal. That paddle is not an ideal one to use because I think it adds a little bit of air into it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know,
I think if you could find, if you had the room, which I don't, but if you had the room, you could put like a drill press that you could mount that in and turn on and turn your speed on that drill press down, and then just set it down in there and let it go. You wouldn't have to sit there and hold it or whatever.
yeah, I worked the bottom all the way around the bottom and the sides and different depths and try to mix it up as good as I can. And the stuff that I bottled the first night and put in the refrigerator seems to be doing pretty well as far as is doing pretty well as far as crystallizing.
All right.
Perfect.
So see how this works.
Seeing just like that, the camera took away the noise.
Pardon me?
The sound deadening.
It figured it out.
It figured it out on the drill.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
See how it started and then it went away, the sound?
I'm glad you said that, Morgan. Because that's exactly the right way to do that. And now I just use my Sawzall to cut across there. I could cut that with my miter saw. Just thing that off. Right on.
I just know when we were working with metal and you had any 90-degree places, we would always try to put a
Round end on it.
round end on it so you don't have a stress point.
Yeah.
You could just basically almost jigsaw that.
Yeah, but the one thing I don't really have is a jigsaw.
Or even a steel saw.
Oddly enough. That is a good way to break your wrist, though. I
Yeah.
know people break their wrist with that. All right. Well, if you want to continue with the wood shop theme. Oh, the tripod. Okay. I'm going to try to, and this doesn't have to be precision either.
I've seen your work.
That's easy. Okay. Well, that's what we've got. Now we just have to take that out.
You can almost use a chisel with that, the way the grain runs.
Yeah, probably could. Probably could, or a handsaw.
Oh, handsaw, that one. You got batteries. Ain't no need for a handsaw.
I know you always try to figure out how to do it with the power tools, you know. Chisels are hand tools though too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Good whack, and they're, it's not like back and forth and back and forth.
You're right. Well, you know, you could actually probably whack that and have a good chance of that coming out properly because the grain runs that way, right? But what am I?
Yeah, I got one of them battery saws like you have there that I use for butchering whenever I to split down the middle. I don't use it for nothing but butchering.
Let's see, Morgan. See how that works.
I might get better.
See, look at that. Pretty good. It's probably good enough for what I need, right? Because I just need a place for the forks to go. It's not ideal. It's not the way I'd like to do it.
Then you could just get some some of the high spots off so you're sitting more level.
Now you can just run your belt sander.
Yeah, we'll just do it from the other side here. Take that off.
That looks as good as any of your pallets we get stuff at work.
That does look as good as any pallet, doesn't it? I'll
Yep.
bet you that's similar to what they do. And this is a prototype, so. Which way are we? This way?
Yep. Better. DC said, "See what happens when you listen to us, Brad."
Yeah. It always comes down to something and a hammer.
Sometimes it's a BFH hammer, but it's
Sometimes you just need a bigger hammer. Never hammer with a large crescent wrench when a small crescent wrench will do. Okay. Well, that's good enough for what we got here.
looks good to me. Heck, half of the skids we get in with barrels on them are all broke up anyway. When we get them, it's better than most of the ones we get from the professionals. You are a professional though, so.
So I have a problem. I'm just gonna have to fix it and change my design a little bit because this is the prototype. You see where the runner I put on. I need to just make that runner shorter.
Or
I
move
like
it
the
over.
idea of it being set back that far, but I'll just make it shorter. Once that glue is dry, I'll take this screw out and just run my circular saw down there and take this piece out.
So you're just gonna make it basically a 2-level pallet.
2-level pallet?
Yeah, because you got the one level that you're going in from the end, and the other level you'll go in from the side.
Yeah. Yeah. In pallet speak, it's actually a 4-way pallet. You can grab it from all 4 ways. So, yeah.
Looks good though.
So if you make your next one, you could do that with the runner that's already on there. Instead of having one on top of it. Are you gonna put that on top
I
of
think
what
what
you're
I've got
doing
here might be confusing you. This is parts for second one.
Oh, okay. I thought you were putting that
This
on.
is the first pallet.
Right. I thought you were putting that
I
on
just put
top
that
of that
together, right? It's upside down, and then I realized that I went outside and measured my tractor, and where I left my fork set, this runner was too close. So
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah, yeah. This is the pallet I built, just like that.
Okay, I thought that when you were gonna put another layer on the bottom of that to be able to get into it. I thought that's what you were gonna do.
And then I'm gonna put just a second.
Got multiple things happening here.
Basically two-way pallet. back to back. So put my box splits on here, something like that. So that I can set my boxes side by side. They're not going to slide off at all. At least the bottom row won't slide off. So I don't think I need shims for this. I think it could be just solid flat plywood. I was over at Ian's on Friday and I was looking at theirs sitting in a pile, and I was asking Carrie if, do you get much honey on the pallet, and if so, when you take the box off, does the honey run off? She says it's not a really big problem, so should be all right to just sit straight on that. But
So
if I
you
do,
use those to put them in because you put them in the barn for the winter, or the honey house thing for the winter.
it's just to store my honey supers.
Oh, okay.
So if I do, I think I'll bother to build a small jig here for my router and countersink this clip into the plywood a little bit, just so the box doesn't sit proud. There's not a crack under here to let nasty things in,
Critters. Yeah.
moths and whatnot.
What you getting ready to ship out, Bob?
Swarm lure to North Carolina on this one. And I got another one here that's
You could personally deliver that one.
cheaper to pay for the shipping on that.
Yeah.
Let's see. This one, I never understand why people get something that's 3 ounces and they want to expedite it. And it's a Sunday. So there's no benefit of expediting on a Sunday because you lose a day on the weekend. It's still not going out to Monday, right? And that's going to Texas. So how fast do they expect to get it? Let's see. So the quickest they can get something is Wednesday. And Amazon doesn't does not charge enough per shipping at a faster rate. So I end up shipping it through my software, which is faster. Well, not faster, same speed, and cost me less. So that's what we ended up doing. Let's see. Don't want none of those options. Let's see. Yeah, it's still not gonna ship that fast. Looks like Thursday is the quickest they're gonna get it. Either way. That's what they're getting.
Here we go, number 2.
in here. Sorry about the dead air here.
It's all right.
Figuring this out. Let's see if that works.
What? I know I'm busy, Cat. I know you're jealous.
I think I might just start sending some bottles into Amazon and let Amazon do this part.
Yeah.
Of course, as long as they charge enough for shipping, which they don't a lot of times. Which is funny because they have all the shipping information. So they should know how much shipping. Brian C says they're about 10 days ahead of their nectar schedule over there.
He said, get some nice smoker fuel out of this, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, well, that's done. We're done for now.
Oh, I only drilled that.
Let me copy that information because I've got to put that over here on Amazon.
It would be a lot easier on a drill press, but it's not.
All right, so that's everybody's happy here. Let's see. As long as the customers happy. I've had somebody in Washington State order and they wanted express. Well, I'm in South Carolina. That's almost as far away from Washington State as you can get in the United States. And they wanted priority shipping. And that's still 3 or 4 days, right? And it gets there, and then they ask for a refund because it didn't get there as fast as they thought it should get there. And I said, well, I sent it out the same way, but if you want to send it back, I'll credit you back. And they mailed it back because it didn't get there quite fast enough for them. So,
Yeah.
happens. Those happen for sure. So, Brad,
Yes, sir.
why couldn't you make it a true 4-way pallet? And instead of using the runners you got there on the side now, or the side pieces, why don't you just cut the notch out of them so you can scoop it straight through the side?
So are you talking about?
Like you got your drill sitting there with the Forstner bit on it.
Yeah.
And it's solid.
Yeah.
Why not just cut the notches out of that so you can just scoop it with the same piece of wood right out of the side? And it's not taller.
Not following. My alternative is to do something like this. And I've got lots of these scrap pieces from offcuts, so I could do this, make a little thing like this, so glue it, basically glue it together, and then put that in here in a corner, right?
Right.
This, and make, I could make longer one here, and then just have it, just plywood where the forks are gonna go.
Well, I'm just saying, like where your drill is sitting right now. Yep. So the piece that you just notched out, why don't you just notch that side piece that you've got on the pallet, and that way you can just slide the forks from the side like that, like it is right now.
That's kind of what I'm doing.
No, he's talking about the one you already made.
The one you already made, the one you got sitting up there.
Yeah.
That piece right there.
Yeah.
Are you're going to replace that piece and put that one in place
I'll
of
cut
it?
it in place.
Oh, okay.
I'll cut that in time. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what he's
his
talking
glue
about.
is wet. His glue is
I-
wet. I don't want to deal with it.
I got you.
So that'll end up looking like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
That's
I
what-
have to cut this runner too. The runner intersects this thing.
I got you.
It's just so that I don't have to, like with forks on my tractor, I can move in and out, but I don't want to have to change them from what they always are.
Right.
They're always just like this. I should go and size that the tractor. I just did it by measure.
All right. Well, hey, it's we've been going almost 2 hours now. I think I was going to end this an hour ago, and then Todd popped in, and then Morgan popped in.
Morgan came by while I was out.
So I'm gonna go ahead and end the live stream right now, guys. And I appreciate everybody that showed up and hung out with us for a bit and caught up with everything that's going on. And thank you for the super chats, by the way, Morgan and Phil. Appreciate that. Goes a long way to keep the channel rolling, and at least makes it worth a little bit of while. And we will talk to you guys again soon. And hey, Tim and Hannah's got a live stream, as far as I know, at 8 o'clock tonight. So check it out. So,
Have a good
all right,
day,
guys.
everybody.
We'll see y'all later. Bye.